For the last 3 weeks, I have received numerous complaints from residents in the area, all right, about the bike lanes. I stood out on Bergen Avenue last week for almost 2 hours to see some of the situations that are going on. I just want to let you know, I and council are not against bike lanes, but it has to be done properly and safely. Tonight, a woman was hit by a bike getting off the bus, and the bike ran right into her tonight about 5 o'clock here, right up the block here. So we've got to, something has to change. It cannot stay this way. I've had complaints from the Catholic Church, St. Aidan's, PS number 11 school, and many of the residents in the area, because it's all in Ward C here, but it's going down into Ward B.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jermaine Robinson, the councilman for Ward F. I know the bike lanes are not in Ward F, but we are excited to hear your concerns tonight, both for and against what the bike lanes represent. And I'm going to pass the rest of my time to the other council members or to the audience, because I know you guys are eager to speak and have a lot to say, because a lot of people came out tonight, and I want to thank you all for coming out tonight.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Mary Prinzeri, Councilwoman for Ward B on the west side of the city. We actually had a community meeting last week. Some of these topics came up as it relates to bike lanes going into different parts of the ward. It was a very constructive conversation, and we came away with a lot of really good input. I've received email and phone calls like the rest of my council colleagues for and against these. So the goal tonight is to understand each other's point of view, understand how it is impacting your neighborhoods, and have a better dialogue about it.
Bless you.
Good evening. I'm Joyce Wortman, Councilwoman at Large. I'm here really to listen and learn. All right? I want to see what is the best way that we can work this out, because there are both sides of the story, and we want to see that we can come up with something that we can all agree with. So I'm here to listen to see if we can reach that point, okay?
Good evening, everyone. Rolando Lavarro, City Council President for Jersey City. Let me just start, first of all, thanking you all for coming out tonight on a Tuesday night, a nice Tuesday night. So thank you for making your time. I also just want to thank Terry and Hudson Catholic for hosting us. Can we give them a round of applause? I'm going to take a little bit more time just to give a little context, and then I'll give it over, because we do want to hear all of your concerns. But I do want to provide some context as to why we are here tonight. And admittedly, I went literally, and my staff members went door to door in the neighborhood, the community, handing out flyers, because it's important to me that we all hear your inputs on this matter. So, as Councilman Boggiano said, after the bike lanes were installed in mid-August or late August, and the traffic patterns were changed as well, he and I, as well as other members of the City Council, received a number of concerns and about the changing traffic patterns there. I can tell you just factual stuff first. Let me just share some facts. Right? So the council in mid-August, August 12th, there was a presentation made to the council at our caucus meeting then about the Bergen Avenue changes in traffic patterns and the proposed bike lanes. Shortly after that, the bike lanes were installed. There was a press conference. There was information in the news about all of that, and saying that this was being, but I will tell you, and this is not a fact, it's just my opinion, and Councilman, well, one fact was, at that meeting when it was presented, the councilman who represents Ward C and the literal roads on which this traffic changes were made was not present at the meeting. He was not in attendance at it, not because of him. He had a planned outing at that time and whatnot, and but it got presented at that time as well, and so he was not in the loop immediately when it was first immediately being proposed. Shortly after that, those installations happened, and the council itself had never voted for it or changed any of the ordinances that would change any of the traffic patterns in the area. So for whatever that's worth, currently the City Council is considering, for first reading, changes in traffic patterns that have already been installed currently here on Bergen Avenue. So these things were done arbitrarily by the administration. That's my opinion on that. So a couple of other points I want to point out, and I think other council people said this as well. I supported Vision Zero. I was on the Vision Zero task force. I think everyone wants the goals of Vision Zero, which is reducing fatalities, pedestrian and bike and safety and enhancing all of that. We're all deeply committed to that. But what I also will tell you as a fact is that we also approved some traffic changes for Grand Street to redesign the streets there and approve for bike and pedestrian safety and protected bike lanes there. And there were several community meetings with various stakeholders across there, right? We all know that on the city council, and many of us were involved in that as well directly, particularly the council people who represent that area. There was the PS number 3 community that was involved, the Van Horst Park Association. Other neighborhood groups were involved in that as well. Throughout the entire stretch, going from the junction up to the waterfront on Grand Street. And I would say that all of that is necessary and good to make sure that that happens, because it's critical and important when making these sort of changes to hear from the communities that are impacted. And so my outreach and speaking to people who brought concerns, and Councilman Bogiano and talking about this, we just talked about the idea that we want to make sure that this community, the St. Aidan's community, the Coptic Church, the McGinley Square community, SIDs, PS11, everyone else who's involved here, that you all have a voice and an opportunity to be heard so that you can express how this is impacting you and what kind of changes, if any, that need to be made to be able to make sure that these road changes work for everyone in the community. So I say that lastly, and then I'll add one last fact, and correct me if I'm wrong, Councilman, but similar changes were proposed in Dwight Street, right? Including bike lanes there, and immediately after it was supposed to begin installation there were complaints from the community, and it was brought to the Councilman Robinson's attention, and he shared that with them, and they said immediately, we're going to hold off, and we're going to make sure that we work with you to make sure that these things are done properly and appropriately. So I think it's only fair that the same level of respect and dignity is accorded to this community that's been here for a long time here in Jersey City. So with that, I'm going to yield my time.
First of all, Hudson Catholic is not against bike lanes. All right, please put that on camera. However, we are concerned with the way this project came about, the process or lack thereof, and some of the things that I think were left out. I think what's best is I can very quickly give you an overview of the letter that we sent, myself and my president principal, Mr. Richard Garabell, sent to the city council members, just voicing some of our concerns. We received an email on August 13th from Ms. Barca A.R. Patel, Senior Transportation Planner for Jersey City, informing, quote, stakeholders of a traffic safety and bicycle infrastructure project along Bergen Avenue between McGinley Square and Journal Square. The Jersey City Division of Engineering, Traffic and Transportation is scheduled to immediately implement a low-cost, quick-build project that could reduce all traffic crashes by approximately 50% with the use of a road diet and protected bike lanes for the length of the project. The project would establish bicycle lanes next to the curb, which are protected by a buffer zone and a floating parking lane. Parking on both sides of the street would remain with minimal parking loss. The email went on to state, quote, these plans have been presented to the Jersey City Municipal Council and the Journal Square Community Association as part of the city's ongoing outreach efforts. We are scheduled to begin roadway striping as soon as the week of August 19th, which was 6 days later. And no parking sign will be posted along the corridor shortly. More information can be found on the Jersey City blah, 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 blah. The August 13th email was the first time Hudson Catholic had received any information regarding the project. There was no opportunity to discuss the impact such a project would have on our school and families. It is hard to process the fact that the project was completed with no input from an institution that has been an integral part of McGinley Square for over 50 years, and one that would be directly impacted by such a drastic change. It is my understanding that the merchants along Bergen Avenue, as well as St. Aidan's Church, were also left out of any conversation. The fact that Hudson Catholic is a regional high school means that many of our students travel from all over Jersey City, as well as surrounding towns and cities. As it stands, the creation of the single lanes has dramatically increased the time it takes for students who travel by bus or car to get to school. More important, we believe that the single driving lanes have created a safety issue for our students. Buses are not pulling to the curb. Drivers are getting frustrated. People are pulling around stopped vehicles and crossing the yellow lines to get around traffic. The bike lanes make crossing the street and exiting buses dangerous, as the cyclists and scooter riders ride in both directions. The bus stop outside Hudson Catholic, which is right here, was repositioned so that it is flush with the gate to our parking lot. The bus lane is 14.5 feet away from the curb. The traffic lane is 23 feet away from the curb. The bike lanes now force a driver to swing directly into the traffic lane, but it is physically impossible to see any vehicle outside a bus until you are in its path. We have staff, parents, and teenage new drivers who will be exiting into a dangerous situation that did not exist prior to the implementation of this traffic plan. It will only get more dangerous at night and during inclement weather. The original email stated, quote, "Parking on both sides of the street would remain with minimal parking loss," close quote. There was no notice that 4 parking spots right here would be removed on Mercer Street at the corner of Mercer and Berger. When we addressed this with Mr. Androvicio, we were told that those spots had been replaced with spots in front of St. Aidan's Church. That, however, is not true, as those spots are simply replacing the spots taken away by the newly repositioned bus stop in front of the church. Parking is already at a premium in the area with no public lots in existence. The Katera project on the corner of Mercer and Jordan has taken up almost 2 full blocks of available parking, and there is now a new building going up across the street on Jordan Avenue with even more parking being taken away. The Katera project closes Mercer and Jordan at times for deliveries and other work, which further exacerbates the existing traffic congestion created by the bike lanes. Because we are a high school, the single lanes in front of school leaves no room for a bus to pick up or drop off students. Our parents already have limited space to park. Back to school nights, parent-teacher conferences, dances, and athletic events are all impacted by this change. It is now more difficult for buses to pick up and drop off our athletic teams and field trip participants. It appears that the traffic signals have not been altered to accommodate the flow from 4 lanes becoming 2 lanes. So cars on cross streets have minimal opportunity to turn onto Bergen Avenue before the lights change, creating aggressive entries to avoid sitting through another light. These actions further endanger our students who are trying to cross those intersections. Buses are now dropping passengers off in the middle of the street because they're stuck in traffic. It seems unconscionable that all of this was done with no input from the communities most directly impacted by these changes. There was no opportunity for community input. There was no opportunity for stakeholders to voice their concerns. We received no notice from Jersey City that we would be afforded that type of dialogue. Hudson Catholic simply asked that its concerns be addressed by the City Council and the new configuration be reconsidered. Again, for us, it's not a matter of should bike lanes be, we need bike lanes. All right, it's important to have bike lanes, but there's areas where they just create havoc and danger, in our opinion, and especially with our teenage kids coming out. The bus stop over here, as I said, is a prime example. We're concerned, how do the fire trucks get down when we now have only 2 lanes? How to drive the existing fire trucks over on Duncan Avenue to come over and then maneuver down through here. Ambulances, anything else of the like. So for us, we have specific concerns, obviously, but the way the changes have been done with no notification but 6 days telling us it's a fait accompli. If I read the article in the Jersey City Reporter correctly, $75,000 has already been spent to do the striping. So it seems a little odd that we would have an opportunity to voice our concerns after taxpayer money has been spent and after the project has been completed.
Sir, why are we doing this now before? Instead of doing it in the beginning, before monies have been spent, why are we trying now to remedy the situation that our town leaders should have had foresight? But, and I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be rude.
Okay, you know what, there was a reason why we're trying to. Okay, so we want to make sure that everybody gets heard, but we want to make sure it's done in a way that's respectful. and orderly. So there were forms that you guys signed out asking your questions. And just hold off on general questions for now. Let the community leaders speak, and then we'll move forward from there.
Father Rocco from St. Aidan's.
I am Vice President at St. Peter's University for Mission and Ministry in my 10th year here in Jersey City, and part of that responsibility is shepherding the community at St. Aidan's, which is part of our Jesuit family. Much like Terry Matthews said, my partner in educational crime here in Jersey City and here at Hudson Catholic, we too believe in bikes. As members of the Jesuits, Pope Francis encourages us to think green and think of the earth and think of conservation. But what is troubling for those of us at St. Aidan's especially, and many of the parishioners are here, is that we are really struggling. We've already had 2 funerals since the new configuration. Because I don't want to just talk about the bike lanes, it's everything that's changed on Bergen Avenue to the extent that we are struggling to be able to pull up the funeral hearse and to allow the families of those who are mourning, which is part of the mission not only of churches but synagogues and mosques. We must accompany our faithful in moments of joy and moments of sorrow. The joyful moments at St. Aidan's, we have a lot of weddings. It's a cathedral church and so many want to be married there. Now we're struggling to figure out how to pull up those vehicles to accommodate that joyful celebration that's really important for family. When you look at the dedicated or the open parking now, where once St. Aidan's had only emergency parking, which allowed for some of the entry and exit of the vehicles I just mentioned, we have no reserved parking or emergency parking. It's all open parking. So the last funeral we had, it became a risk, not only to the folks coming out of the hearse and out of the family vehicles for the funeral, it became a risk for pedestrians and others trying to navigate in front of the great church of St. Aidan's. As long as Hudson Catholic has been part of this beautiful footprint of Jersey City, St. Aidan's goes back, or at least the church you see on Bergen Avenue, opened its doors to the community and neighborhood in 1931. So we have a very long history here. As part of St. Peter's University as well, so many of our special events and concerts take place at St. Aidan's as well. So I voice with so many parishioners, St. Peter's University families and colleagues, we're voicing a concern. And we share in that concern with Hudson Catholic, our Coptic Church, and so many other neighborhood partners and businesses who, were sort of broadsided. We really did not have a heads up. I say that to you honestly, and I say that to you as someone who is not in the business of telling a fib. So really, truly, we want bikes on the side of our student center on Glenwood, 47 Glenwood Avenue, the McMahon Student Center. We have a huge bike rack, and every morning students and faculty and administration make use of that. We believe in this. We believe it's important, but also community consultation, community conversation, and community input is so very important, so we can all feel comfortable with the changes, celebrate them, and feel that all of our needs and concerns and wants are heard, respected, and as best as we can, as a community of brothers and sisters, can figure it out together. I thank you for this moment. I thank all of the St. Aidan's and St. Peter's University family that's here, and I thank all of you.
My name is Roger. I'm the president of McKinley School, SID, like Hudson Catholic, like St. Aidan's. We never were informed the job the city is doing on Bergen Avenue. We're not like Hudson Catholic and St. Aidan's. We're not against the bike. We're not saying don't put bike lane, but do it in a pattern that will help the traffic. We are a bunch of business people. We have 128 businesses in McGinley Square, and we lost 5 parking spots. And right now in McGinley Square, from Bowland Avenue to Baldwin Avenue, there is both sides of Montgomery Street, there is no parking. You park there, you get ticket. We need parking. And the city taking the meters away from these businesses, we lose more customers. We're not saying why they put a bike lane, but they should do all this study before they do the job. Before they spend the $75,000 that they spend, they should have come to the businesses. And like Hudson Catholic, we just got 3-4 days notice that they're gonna do this. My board never got together to see what our opinion is, but as I'm talking to you, we passed a petition in the McGinley Square, and we got a couple of pages of signature, and we gave it to the city council last night, that they see that the businesses in McGinley Square are against this pattern. If you come in the morning at 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, good luck to get to Journal Square from Montgomery Street to Sip Avenue. It will take you 40 minutes. If you have time, drive. I just want to tell the council people, if they can revisit this plan and do it different, let's do it different.
Good. I just would like to add to what Roger said. I'm a merchant also in the McGinley Square partnership, and the impact has been noticeable. But the thing that I see is that why did we not have a discussion prior? And I think it was mentioned earlier that no one thought about in the city to say, why don't we ask, what do you think for bike lanes? How do you think we can put bike lanes on Bergen Avenue? Get some suggestions that might be in conjunction with the community instead of just going ahead and, to use a football term, blindside you. You know, like we had no idea of what it was going to be like until now. And now we're sitting here saying, oh, why didn't you do something for us?
Who was responsible for putting those bike lanes in?
Well, that is a good question, and that has to be, someone has to answer for it. The community now is asking the questions.
Conflict of interest.
We're all asking the same question as to why and where does this continue. Maybe it can be changed to where there's some mutual consideration. I hope that's the case. But at this point, it's up to the councilmen and councilwomen who are here. I'm so happy that you took the time to hear us, because I think it's important that you get a feel for what we see and what we feel. So again, I want to thank you, and I want to thank Mr. Matthews from Hudson Catholic, who I've known for many years. He certainly laid it out very clear and concise. Thank you again.
And Councilman Buggiano has actually given me this job to try to synopsize the concerns of the residents, particularly living in the area leading up to Bergen Avenue. So right out here, I saw a few of you, I think, at the Ward C and D parking meeting, where I went, my friend. So I think you've heard it from everyone here, and I'd like to reiterate it, particularly for those of you who are in the room, who are bike lane advocates. For this neighborhood. We have never been seeking an argument, a fight with bike lanes. I don't even think a lot of our residents thought about them. My parents have owned a home here for 50 years. I was raised here, and you know what? Almost everyone on these streets, on Jordan, Tours, Mercer, and Vroom, are all like my family, okay?
Sure.
So they've all been here for many, many, many years, and we've been begging and begging for some relief before the bike lanes were installed. So I just want to be very clear, no one here is looking for a fight.
What kind of relief?
So I got it. I'm going to let you know. But I think actually the thing is, we've called the council because it's the council who can provide the relief, right? Let's all live in peace and harmony. Here are some things that we've collected. So the first question for the city council is, did the city conduct a comprehensive traffic and parking study of the McGinley Square neighborhood before implementing the bike lanes? This is a neighborhood seeking relief from increased population and the never-ending incremental removal of residential parking without any relief in sight. This very small residential area includes 6 schools. Just on this corner alone, and our wonderful crossing guard who deserves a Medal of Honor from to Hudson Catholic, St. Peter's College, Kitchen Campus,
Number 11.
Primary Prep, and Hudson County Community Enterprises, which is a school for the disabled. This is all on Tours Avenue, from this corner to here. Here's what happened, folks. A few years ago, this development was approved here. This has been our pain point. And God bless Councilman Baggiano, because he has come to this neighborhood several times. This development project is closing the street at whim. They do not post notices, so if you live on Vroom Street, Tours Avenue, Mercer Street, guess what? They're just taking up parking. They've already taken up parking, this has been discussed. So I really want folks to hear that. So the parking was taken away from the McGinley Square business district a few years ago. The only municipal lot was sold in our business district. 2 development projects, major ones, were approved right around the corner from this school zone / 2-family home residential project, okay? We can't get the enforcement we need at this development site, so then the bike lanes came in, and when people saw the removal of more parking, and then it happened in front of our schools, where people have to cross a double line, you know, going this way and that. You have the seniors from St. Aidan's who are very upset because they're a little confused by it. Why is the traffic going 2 lanes, 2 ways? You have folks from the church, Father Rocco touched on that, about the funerals and things like that.